Hello. Welcome.
Hello. Welcome to the Mama Show.
Welcome.
What's up, Dave?
Not much. Just
How are you?
handling August. Very, very lazy August for me. But
Hot.
a lot of news, a lot of insanity. Feels like everyone is insane
Yeah.
this month. Totally lost grip on reality from multiple sources. But
Well, I've been listening to a lot of your show recently, and it's great. I love it.
well, thank you. I'm very flattered. I hope it's some respite to the other insanity that's going on. As your co-host was saying, I guess there's a lot of clips of me going around talking to either Nathan Kaufness or Joel Berry this this week, even though it was like years ago since I talked to them. It's kind of funny that the conversations we were having last year, they're still going on. There, I mean, we're no longer talking to each other. You know, like Joel Berry and I used to have back and forths on chats all the time, and we used to go on podcasts and talk things out. But now no one talks to each other anymore. We're just rehashing old conversations in repetition in X these days.
How much of that do you think is because of the new way the algorithm? So my working theory right now is that it's like, institutional powers are always trying to catch the freedom of like the new platforms, right? And now I get the sense that the institution, like all the powerful institutions, have completely caught up with the new algorithms.
Yeah.
So that they totally control everything now. Like if I open up my stupid Twitter feed right now, every single post is about GTA 6. I don't play video games at all. I do not give a fuck about video games. But whatever marketing company GTA 6 has is now paying a bazillion influencers to post about it, right? And I don't know, they're probably not even running ads. They're probably just straight up paying people to post. And so now the whole feed is about GTA. And it's like that with politics too. It's like you wake up one day and you go on the feed and everybody's like, Richard Nixon was great. And you're like, okay. You all decided Richard Nixon was great right now. So it's like, I just feel like the feed is so fake. It's like, that's why nobody talks about anything, because everything is just shill. It's like totally dominated by shills all the time.
Yeah, I mean, there's sort of two effects going on. So I've been noticing this for a while. Everyone's noticed this. The one platform that's kind of been somewhat immune to this has been Substack. But my growth on YouTube and X is totally flatlined. I'm not the only one.
Everybody
flatlined around the same time, and that was roughly a year ago. Roughly just after Trump took office, just all growth flatlined. And this has been due to, I don't know if it's one thing. It seems to be more likely that it's an intersection of two things, but they're closely related. The first one is, like you were saying, the algorithms that game the algorithms have caught up with each other, right? So, if you want to see that social media exists in the space in between when the feed algorithm is developed and when the bot algorithm can be perfectly optimized for the feed algorithm. And if the two are apart, then there's space for human interaction. When the two are totally caught up, there's not. So that has resulted in the total slopification of the social media generally, and Facebook and everywhere. I mean, Substack is an exception to this, and growth isn't great on Substack, but I can reliably get things that feel like human interactions on Substack where I can't in X or YouTube. I mean, YouTube does not exactly work the same way, but in sort of a response to the slopification stuff, which I think slopification is partially algorithms, it's also partially that these social media platforms have been massively expanded into third world markets or developing markets. So at the same time that the algorithms have totally caught up, the algorithms are also feeding people with, I should say, information diets and information standards that aren't quite up to what we would ordinarily expect from social media. And because of this, I think this is sort of the second order effect. The people who use social media to participate in politics have gotten a lot more exhausted. and there's a lot less enthusiasm than there usually is because of the fact that everything feels kind of unimportant and drowned out and this or that, and the conversation also never moves forward. That's another big problem that we have is, like, these people are, someone, your co-host was just said to me, oh, when we have a conversation with Joel Berry recently, well, that was a year and a half ago, and nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. And this is a person that I used to kind of be in dialogue with, and now now we're just kind of repeating the same arguments over and over again. Such a conversation that we had, a year and a half ago is as relevant today as it was when we shot it.
Wait, you're on mute.
Oh,
You're on mute.
Sorry, there was like black crime outside, so I had to mute. What's your most viral tweet of all time, Dave Green?
I have no idea. I don't track that. It probably had something to do with me complaining about liberals or neoconservatives or something like that. That usually gets them. The anti-boomer ones really get people. I try to be more proud about the Substack stuff, but the tweets, I can't even remember the viral tweets that I sent out. Last week I think I got a tweet of the week from Dudley New Rate, and I can hardly remember what it was. It just goes by the way. So I think that one was me making fun of Dan Savage, so I remember that one. But it's hard otherwise.
So the one thing that I really like that you've been talking about is just hating conservatives.
Oh yeah,
I really have come around to this in recent time.
Mm-hmm.
And so have you always been kind of because I know you used to be a liberal, right? And then you kind of came over to the right. And so have you always been kind of against the conservatives, or is that
no? I voted for between 2011 and 2014. I was a conservative. That was my Ben Shapiro phase. And it actually corresponded almost exactly to the time when Ben Shapiro was broadcasting out of Seattle, which was coincidentally the place where I lived. And because of that, I don't know. It feels a little bit magical in hindsight, but I was a conservative. I thought we could make conservatism work. I think everyone kind of goes through that phase between, realizing that kind of the progressive delusions aren't real, and then going, oh, well, maybe we can kind of like do this thing where we use the modes of the system and then like plead in the name of the logic of that system to preserve the system itself. But it results in just, the conservatives at these days they're just completely embarrassing people. And I guess I shouldn't, I don't want to throw anyone under the bus. I kind of like Matt Walsh a little bit. I mean, he's too much of a Catholic millennial convert. I feel like if I hated him, I'd hate myself. So I can't not kind of like him, but everyone else in that circle, they don't respond to reality, and they don't they're kind of paid to never update their understanding of the universe, to continuously stay in this backwards way of looking at things. It feels like their audience also is just people in retirement conditions. I have my in-laws are conservatives, and they just love this stuff. They love the Fox News mode where you sit around and you complain about progressives, and then you tell people, in this case Canadians, that it just the next election, that's when this is all going to turn around. It's such, I mean, I like the Curtis Yarvin thing, like we're all kind of grifters, we're all selling takes to a certain extent, but it just like I like to think that the ideas that I promote come with a little bit of sincerity and honesty, and if I know something is obviously not like it's popular but stupid, I'm not just gonna kind of repeat that meme because I know that the algorithm rewards it. Otherwise, we'd all be Candace Owens right now, right? If anyone's made out of this time,
one of the things that you say that I also completely agree with you. Yeah, you're always like saying stuff that I am just like, yeah, like why is nobody? I really think everything has just become shilling all the time. Everybody's just shilling. All the people that you like used to like, that used to like have funny tweets are now just shilling. And one of the things these shilling people do is they say, you know, on the conservative side, they say, we can never let the Dems get power again. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, wait, what are you gonna do? Like, are like you're gonna stop them? Like, how? What do you think is gonna happen? You're gonna abolish elections? Like, it's not. That's not happening.
I'll steel man this. I'll steel man this. I mean, I've heard. You know, and people make fun of me, but I deeply respect Yarvin. You know, he was the person who saved me from conservatism in more ways. You know, so you know, he broke me out of my Ben Shapiro phase, and I read him even when I was a liberal, way back in the early days of UR. Although he didn't really connect me back then. He says similar things, and what people really want to say is that, you know, things aren't going to get better in any meaningful way until one side can consolidate political power, because until one side does consolidate political power, our politics is going to be massively schizophrenic. So obviously we're not going to keep the Democrats out of office. We don't have the mechanisms to do that in the present state. You know, we're not executing, what is it, Curtis Yarvin says, like execute some kind of functional FDR monarchy where you just kind of procedurally rule as a monolithic entity for a decade and a half. We don't have that power. So eventually the opposition is going to retake political power at the large level, and then we're going to go through another period of absolute insane turmoil, and that's just how things are going to be until our political system falls apart, which, you know, and it'll need to be reinvented at that stage. And that's not very comforting. That's not what people want to hear. People want to hear that there's something that they can do immediately to fix things. And if you don't say that, then you're dooming, or, you know, you're blackpilling, or you're a panicking. The problem is that the political coalition to restore sanity has not been built yet. And there's a lot of missing components to it that would need to be in place. There's a lot of sociological developments that haven't quite come into place yet either, which is the left has not quite entered its final form yet. You still have this idea that there is a left in this country, and that it's not a gigantic, it's not a gigantic attempt to take people's money and distribute it to core constituencies based on ethnic revenge and resentment. There's still people, like powerful people, and surprisingly enough, young people, who think that there actually is a leftist plan for the world that is not just friend-enemy distinction stuff.
Well, there's also...
By the way, something really interesting is happening on Twitter right now. So one of the things Twitter, like literally at this second, so one of the things Twitter does is for the numbers of your stream, like people watching your stream, Twitter hyperinflates it by making it so that it's like anybody who's looked at it counts as a number, right? So right now, that I don't know if they just turned it off or it's malfunctioning. So right now you can see actually how many people are tuning in to stuff, and this is like for TBPN and this new thing, MTS, these new like streaming shows, they all have these big numbers on there because it'll be like 20, however many thousand people, but actually that's just total. People think that's current viewers, but it's not. It's just total viewers. So right now all the numbers are super, super small, and like MTS, this full-time streamer, they have 11 people watching their show and we have like 15 with all of us combined, because we do it across all of our different things.
Man,
so it's like, wow, I really want to see TBPN. Like how many people actually watch TBPN like while it's on?
TBPN has never even, their YouTube channel, like they get less views than a lot of people.
Yeah.
They're like at 30 or 50,000 per episode. And they sold it for like $100
million.
That's complete nonsense. That's like That might be a money laundering scheme. I don't really know. But to your point, Dave, I also think there's a massive issue that it's because of Trump. It's the last 10 years of the way that media has consolidated in conservative media. It's basically become, it's what sports radio did and sports media did, in the decade before that. But the entire audience and the zeitgeist, the voting zeitgeist, especially in the right, I think the left actually is a little bit more isolated or insulated from this. But people really conflate show business and commentariat with activism and political will. So they just go, oh man, if we really podcast hard about this and we have these conversations, like it's going to change everything. This is going to get us to the next level. It's like people that think Captive Dreamer is like a massive kingmaker because he like fucking tweeted a lot.
Yeah, because he had a 2-day news story and everybody's like, he's the whole reason the Trump is in office. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Like Matthew Peterson and Posebek were like some of the first people that were tweeting about the cats in like that was a real story that blew up. And then because we're all like we're patting each other on the back because it's such a fucking circle jerk that people believe that is actual political power, Twitter or whatever. And I'm not completely poo-pooing it. I think there is something there, but we have completely outsourced actual political organization and activism to the timeline in our own little feeds. And then we were all spoiled because there was somebody named Charlie Kirk who actually did a bunch of stuff. He was the biggest fundraiser in the world, the biggest organizer in the world, and he happened to have the biggest podcast and social media platform. So that is like, I think that's like a huge issue, especially as we move into 2028. If people don't realize that, Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens are doing show business. They are getting paid. They create content to get advertisers, not to change America.
Yeah, I think that it is kind of depressing to consider Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson suffer from the same problem. I think Tucker Carlson is massively more talented than Candace. But he suffers from this fact that he is in many ways more audience captured than he really should be. If I were Tucker, I'd be really afraid of that. Maybe it's too late. He's obviously very old. He might not be even aware of this problem. But you can obviously see it. His work has kind of suffered recently for a lot of those reasons. And Candace is just totally slopified. But I mean, I think that I don't know, the question that we're kind of facing here, and this is sort of relevant with the death of Charlie Kirk. I mean, Charlie Kirk his assassination was a huge turning point because it just demonstrated the complete powerlessness of at least the previous way that we've been doing politics. It absolutely changed. Every single influencer that I've talked to, every single person who's serious about politics, their way of approaching these problems radically changed when Charlie Kirk was assassinated. But at the same time, the sort of prediction that there would be a popular movement that would emerge in his death, it was totally false. The left obviously benefited way more from Charlie Kirk's assassination than did the right. The people who were influencers or were serious about activism got more serious, but this is a very small number of people. And the way that the conservative media ecosystem is set up, it's not designed to ever encourage activism or young people participating in anything outside. It's designed to keep people complacent and clicking. And so Charlie Kirk was, once the spectacle of Charlie Kirk's funeral evaporated, and once the outrage cycle passed, the conservative movement had nothing to do with the young people who were showing up and saying, I want to be your warrior, I want to be your activist, I want to be the new Charlie Kirk. And so they just went everywhere. They went nowhere. They got absorbed back into the weird 2026 internet ecosystem. And now we're, a year out from Charlie Kirk's death, almost exactly. His death was in early September of 2025. We're a year out, and there are absolutely no leaders that are standing up as representatives of what he was doing. anywhere. I mean, there's a few of them, but they're all people who were there that had their track picked out before Charlie Kirk's death. There's no evidence that the conservative movement can take an upswing of enthusiasm and turn it into anything that isn't just navel gazing and spectacle. And this is where you have people like Rod Dreher and Jeremy Boring and Seth Dillon and Joel Berry, people who I love to kind of bash on Twitter. It's just so funny because it's just so obvious they're advertising for a retirement community. Those guys, it's just so obvious that these people are selling takes to people who will never do anything, who are resigned to sit in their offices and do absolutely nothing with the outside world. There was a tweet from person I know in real life, but I don't want to dox him, where there was this interview between Joe with Rod Dreher and Jeremy Boring or whatever, and keep aside the content, just look at their little gig. Their little gig is they're in this house that's like all wood and it's all dark and it's like lined with books. it's like the stereotypical house that you're supposed to be as like an established intellectual. You can imagine this is somewhere in like, I don't know, Georgetown or wherever. And it represents where you would land in life if we were at the height of our civilization and people who became learned scholars and defenders of the Western tradition were idolized as gentlemen and scholars, and they got to retire to these large palatial estates. It's all fake. These people are virtual outcasts. They sell to people who don't have money. And nobody lives in one of these old school traditional houses with the oak rooms and the rows and rows and rows of like classic books. I mean, my father had an office like that, but he collected rare books. This is something that does not exist. But that's the conservative movement needs to sell people on the idea that behind it all, there are these people who are still living in the old world without necessarily violating any of the liberal taboos. And this is going to be part of an immune reaction that's going to restore sanity, and that's just never going to happen.
Harrison is definitely doing the book thing you're talking about. He can't even read.
Yeah.
And he, of course, has this like big bookshelf behind him with like 6 different rows of thick novels.
You don't think I read Mein Kampf? That I just have 17 versions of Mein Kampf behind me.
17 versions
But
of
actually,
Mein
I
Kampf.
think you
fair-
probably Claude summaried Mein Kampf, and that's all you've
No.
read in the past year.
These this is actually, all of these books came with my house. So like none of these, I really don't even know. Like some of them are kind of cool. Like I had Sam Batch come over and look at them, and he was like, "These are kind of cool." So like
Oh wow, okay.
Here's case in point about conservatives. We have a commenter saying, Isaac, you retard. Nixon was recently being discussed everywhere because August 15th was the 55th anniversary of Nixon taking us off the gold standard. And people are passionate about that. I hope that's a joke. That's hilarious if that's a joke. Chicken fishy hybrid 44.
Yeah.
But if you're serious, that's the most hilarious fucking thing I've ever seen.
I mean,
Because
I mean, just like everything in the boomer imagination revolves around Watergate and is kind of like choice moments in the past. But the problem is like we can relitigate these things endlessly, and it's not going to get us out of the situation that we're in right now. I mean, there's just questions that need to be answered, and very few people in the modern world want to take them head on. And so you can relitigate Nixon's decision to get us off the gold standard.
Yeah.
That's not going to stop anything having to do with the current insolvency of the American financial system that's going to hit in 5 to 7 years, if not earlier.
Grievance politics is way more dopaminogenic, maybe. Is that the right word? It's so much, feels a lot better to be like, we're fighting. And so that's what they were doing from 2016, and then 2020 they lose, right? We lose the election, and then you get to 4 years of fighting, and guys, and then you win. There's no seizing the moment of the win. And then there are the guys that are like, hey man, stop blackpilling, things are going great. There's a whole delusional side to that too, where it's like, yeah, man, I mean, things are, kind of going well, but like they have to attach themselves to this Trump movement, because I don't think there's a vision for what happened. I don't know if JD Vance is really the vision people are on board with right now. I think
JD Vance is something that I don't know who said this, but it's been often repeated. I associate it with, I'm sure it's like Sam Francis or somebody who originally said this, but the left is a movement, the right is a market. And JD Vance is like the perfect, like, marketed successor to Trump. He dips in every single category. He says all the right things. Internet memes about him being a big chubby boy aside, he looks pretty good on camera. He certainly speaks well on audio. But the problem is, like, no one's enthusiastic about JD Vance. Right. He's kind of the opposite of Trump. Trump had this kind of massive organic appeal and really only one signature issue, which was immigration reform. Other than that, it was the force of his personality and immigration reform, and everything else was simply a projection onto that. And JD Vance is the exact opposite. He's kind of this, you could see people coming up with JD Vance inside a focus group. And, admittedly, like, he did have a presence. People knew about him from Hillbilly Elegy, which itself was kind of like an attempt at marketing his career, before we even knew about him. But, I never met like an organic JD Vance supporter. People support JD Vance because they're worried about what the Democrats will do when they get back into office, which they should be, because the Democratic Party that will get back into office will be heavily flavored with Hassan Piker crazy DSA stuff, which will not result in the implementation of socialism, but what will absolutely result in is an increased willingness of the federal government to use punitive financial measures against their opponents.
Yeah.
Oof.
I think we're definitely heading for the Newsom Reich. I think we're going to get a 30-year Newsom Reich.
Well, you think you think it's going to be the establishment rather than the DSA? I mean, this is, I guess, have to be seen, right?
Well, so there's a split among them, right? There was a really interesting, I just did a stream about this. There was a really interesting article in New York Magazine about the new left-wing Dem kingmaker, who is a woman named, shockingly, Rebecca Katz. Yeah. And Rebecca Katz is exactly everything. They describe her in the article as a very New York neurotic ball of anxiety. And it's just like,
Never heard of that one.
Just
Wow,
say
very
Jewish.
unique.
Just say Jewish.
That's Cats with a K and a Z, by the way.
Yeah.
She's not just like a streamer who has cats.
Yeah.
And I love that, like, later in the article, they're like, and then she hired this other woman named Amanda Katz.
Morris
Like,
Katz.
yeah.
And Morris Katz is the other kingmaker now. It's so the Katzes are, and so she's supposedly the, she's got a agency called Fight, and she's one of these consultants, and she's behind Mamdani, she's behind Fetterman, she's behind El Sayed, she's behind another one that just won. Oh yeah, Plattner. She was behind Plattner.
Is this like a C.L. Weaver type, like Katie Wilson type deal? Or
no. She's like the guy behind the guy.
She's a
she's like
strategist.
the strategist,
Marketing and strategist.
Yeah. No, we're not all Jewish. Only Harrison is Jewish. Yeah,
Just kidding. I am Jewish as well. Oh, Ducky is into it. That's pretty funny.
Okay, Ducky.
Wait, but
no. So anyway, so this article is all this like thing of like she's the mastermind, and she's picking a whole new kind of candidate who is. She says, "I'm looking not for people who are normal. I'm looking for people who are real." And of course, they say 1,000 times, Graham Plattner was an oyster farmer for years. He was an oyster farmer. And, it's like the whole thing is that it's supposed to be, now we're in economic leftism world, right? That's the big shift. And she's finding these normal people, just like Fetterman. I'm wearing shorts around. I'm just a normal guy. And that's supposedly the new Dem party, is this like normal. We're just a bunch of simple oyster farmers.
See, I don't know if I think I agree with the Newsom thing, because what they remember a couple years ago, I think that was leading into 2024, but definitely ever since, there was like maybe a 1,000 articles that were like, when is the left going to find their Joe Rogan, right? And it's like that. So now there's like the DSA type candidates are like are the left's Joe Rogan. It's like in the right, in the same
Yeah,
way.
that's a good that actually is true. That
And so
actually
they-
is true what you just said.
They brought over, and so they want a Trump person because Trump was kind of far right, but even though he really wasn't, he came from a place where we were like, what is this guy? And then you have sort of these more Groyper type candidates. You have these Fishbacks and these people. They don't win because it's very hard to get young conservatives or young Republicans to really show up to vote. I don't think a lot of the young leftists are really going to be showing up to vote. And if you look at all the real activists, the people that are out there protesting, they're all middle-aged or older. And I really think it's a hard sell on that audience to go with really scary Muslim people or really scary communist people. I think those people are more or less still standard Democrats. And so I tend to believe that Newsom is still the front runner there over, and even AOC kind of gives me sort of like a middle, she was an interesting Bernie type, but even Bernie Sanders seems kind of stodgy and middle of the road, like Democrat now.
Yeah, Bernie Sanders is just from a boomer era that no longer makes sense. The question is, what does this look like? This is the real hump that everyone's trying to get over, and which conservatives refuse to get over, is what. And this is obviously what we really lost with Charlie. It wasn't getting compilations of college students getting owned. It was what does the right-wing man look like after the boomer era is over? And I think this is the right-wing's real advantage, is that we have answers to that. We know what this looks like, at least on the male side, very easily, what the right-wing man looks like. It's not there yet, but something is kind of coming into focus. Whereas the left, I mean, even what you're describing to me, like half of it's DSA, half of it is this corporate shill leftism type of stuff that comes out of, the Democrats think tanks or whatever. It's all tonally mismatched. It doesn't make any sense. It works because the left's coalition and demographics are just so strong. The left's numbers is so much stronger than the right wing's coalition that they can make something like Hassan Piker work, even though Hassan Piker imagistically is just a walking contradiction. He doesn't have, and there's by all rational measures, he should, this shouldn't be a thing, but because it's a market niche, it's kind of the inversion of what I just said, but because there's a market niche in the demographics, that they can just pop him in there, and he appeals enough to leftists, white leftists who are trying to cope that they're part of a communist revolution, and he appeals enough to people who have resentments, ethnic or otherwise, against people of a more heritage American persuasion. And I just don't know what the Democrat Party is going to look like after the boomer era is over. And I think that's actually, I mean, it's ironic, but that's really the interesting thing about what the Democrat Party is going to look like in 2028. I don't think that anything interesting is going to be done on the left per se. Like intellectually, they'll do nothing. Artistically, they'll do nothing. They're locked into the same modes eternally. But the candidates that they generate, that will be an interesting question for the future. I want to see how far this DSA revolution goes, or how far it will be allowed to go.
I think the left's plan is very clear, and the right has no plan. The left is saying the big cloud that's hovering, especially over young people, I think, who are around my age, is the entire economic order is about to change because of AI.
Yeah.
That could be 5 years away, it could be 10 years away. But it's not even going to be capitalism versus socialism. It's going to be some new thing, because this is just going to so massively reorient how the economy works. So what the left is saying is, we're going to just, however it shakes out, we're just going to take money away from the people at the top, and we're going to give it to her.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's a pretty clear answer. And I think the right at this point has actually won most of the Trumpian battles that were fought. The right has effectively won the culture war. Shane Gillis's show is the top thing on Netflix. People say retard again, but there's no answer to what's going to be the next what is going to be the answer to this new economic system? What is the right going to offer me?
And
If it's not going to
anything-
be taking money away from the rich guys, what is the plan exactly?
well,
Yeah,
It's
so I mean,
Richard
yeah.
Nixon, bro. Let's Nixon Max.
well, no.
Let's
and
talk
to
about
come to
Richard,
that-
the 55th anniversary of the
Yeah.
gold standard. That's a great campaign. Everybody,
And that's
talks about
attractive.
that.
Did you hear about the Kennedy assassination? It's like there's new information that's come
Yeah. Oh,
about
let's
the
talk about
Kennedy
aliens.
assassination.
How about
Yeah.
some aliens?
Yeah.
Let's just think about the alien. Don't worry about the economy. There's
To
aliens.
that
We have
point, too,
aliens.
there's something going on because things, it's fun to say retard and call people faggots, but if like food is really expensive, then you have this end around that people like Tucker, who has an incredibly huge audience, but every boomer I talk to, like I talk to a lot of like conservative. I live in New Orleans, so like all the conservatives here are pretty old. Like there's not a bunch of young 20-year-old right wingers in New Orleans, but they're all like, yeah, Tucker's kind of crazy, but he has a huge audience that him in between Sean Ryan and sort of Candace and some of these people, in the comedian circuit too, even and Shane Gillis to some degree is saying some of this stuff. Dude, they're like the right-wing populism stuff is not crazy different than a lot of this left-wing populism, communism stuff. And that's actually where that is a dangerous game. I think we're sort of playing on the right, is that if we're just going to sort of like dabble in that world, you're always going to get outflanked by the left with Gibbs. If your whole
this is what I'm kind of saying. Yeah, is like you could have a world where someone kind of in my demographic who says retard and faggot will vote for a Democrat because they're like, listen, we've won the culture war. I can say what I want now. Like even if Gavin Newsom is really woke, like they're not going to put us in jail for saying retard. Like that's sort of settled and outside of politics.
No,
But I can't afford my rent and I'm pissed off and I can't get a job, so I'm voting for Newsom to get paybacks.
Well,
I mean,
there's something there.
You've highlighted really the flaw of the conservative. It is a media market targeted at old people, and because of that, they can't see the reality that is the huge economic shift that we're undergoing. Right? I mean, I don't think the apocalypse predictions. I don't know. Maybe it's the apocalypse, whatever. But it's obvious that there's going to be a massive economic realignment, and the jobs that people have trained for years and years and years doing are going to instantly be worth nothing, and turning around and explaining to them that they now earn as much as like a minimum wage teenager is just not, it's like a non-starter. And this is why the whole idiocy, it's absolutely insane, this whole $20 burrito discourse. The reaction of that from conservatives is absolutely insane. Because do you not understand what is going on in the economy right now? Do you not understand everyone is instantly become downwardly mobile or at risk of becoming downwardly mobile? And they people explain this to them. I've seen people get taken aside and they've had the problem explained to them in excruciating detail, and they keep on doing this boomer posting. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Why don't you dumpster dive at Trader Joe's to get your burritos?
Yeah.
It's
Denzel, Denzel, who is
fed his family of 8 for under $15 by going to Aldi or something. So I think everything's okay, guys. I think you guys are just kind of
Yeah, everything's fine, guys. Like, you don't like eating rice and beans all the time? Like, come on.
Yeah, just eat your rice and beans.
Just eat
Yeah,
your cake with
Denzel
your
is
rice and
a well-known Mossad agent, and you should have seen the other day. We were talking about Andrew Callahan, and I don't know if you've seen Andrew Callahan's movie Dear Kelly, and it's about a guy who gives a predatory loan to another guy, and the other guy completely loses his mind, basically. And I was like, yeah, the movie's about a guy who gives a predatory loan to another guy. And Denzel was immediately like, it was not a predatory loan.
There's no such
thing as predatory. He went into debt himself. And I was
you can't have a predatory contractual agreement. Read the fucking contract. If you don't pay back your shit, you lose the house. It was predatory borrowing, and I'm standing by that.
Yes.
I'm standing by that line.
Do we like the comments? Do we like the comments in the middle or just over pub? Sorry.
Over
I know
pub.
this is inside
Over
baseball.
pub.
Over pub, okay.
Yeah, just
There's just
throw
a
it
big
over me.
space here. It looks
Nobody
like
needs to see
Dave
my
and
profile
Isaac
picture.
It looks like Dave and Isaac are in the same room.
In the
though.
same room. I know. It's like it's perfect.
Yeah, it does. It does
Little
actually.
Wait, Dave,
We
why
have
do you
the
have
same lighting.
California? Why is
Oh,
California?
I live in California now again after
You
a
do?
long exodus. Yeah, I
where?
finally returned to my home state. So I decided to do a giant map and pin all the places that I need to kind of show my son that I remember growing up. So it's in
Dang.
honor of my home
sweet.
state.
Are you up north?
I am up north. Well, I'm not that far north. I'm not in the Bay Area because I don't
Oh.
want to live among Bay Area
Tell us-
people.
What's your exact address?
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
your exact address and zip code?
What's your fucking address?
Yeah, we need to do the ding dong ditch me and interrupt the live stream. it'll be interesting. I don't know.
you're up
In
California.
some ways, it's the most boomer area imaginable. You know, all of these blue states outside of the leftist fever dream are a bunch of old people who got in on the real estate market early, and now they're sitting back and just enjoying life while totally not updating their understanding of how the world works. So, and this is the world we're in. It just the left, the right, and the left have sort of different parts of the problem. I see why people go like, the left-right distinction doesn't make a difference. That's obviously cope, right? The left-right distinction will eternally be ever present because they constitute different kinds of motions and different kinds of ways of thinking about politics. But I see what people are thinking is they think, well, the right has kind of part of this picture and the left has the other part, and wouldn't it be magically fortuitous if somehow they got together and put together something that actually made sense politically in the 21st century? And that's not going to organically come about by itself. That's going to have to be intentionally put in place by some larger than life character, some person who's like Charlie Kirk, but has ambitions to be something more than Rush Limbaugh 2.0.
Which we've talked about. Yeah.
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 Which
I
Charlie
mean, well,
Kirk
that was
could
what
have
was
been.
so ironic. But this is this anecdote I constantly tell. But what was so ironic about Charlie was that, it's like he actually did have teeth. He was one of the very, very few Republicans who actually was not just a talker, right? Yet it seemed like that's what he wanted, to be a talker. So it's
I don't think
kind of a
that's
great irony there.
I think that was his bit. That was what he was good at. But he was also, he literally was the number one fundraiser for.
That's what I'm saying. No, that's what I'm saying. He was legit. He was like was actually doing real shit.
Yeah, I just think that he was a Rush baby and he loved doing radio.
And he loved Rush, right? Yeah, that's and you could tell that. You could tell that even at that AmFest that we went to, Harrison. Like you could tell he the thing he really wanted to do was do his podcast. Like that's what was what really like excited him.
But he saw that as marketing. And and the Rush thing is when you grow up as a Rush baby. And I was not. I was a big libtard, so I was never into this. But
we didn't mute you, Ducky. What are you talking about? We didn't mute you.
Yeah, you're not muted, Ducky. But what's interesting is like the right never had anything cool until like Rush. Rush was kind of cool and was like a thing. That didn't exist, and he was still he shit on Republicans just as much as he shit on anybody else. Like he kind of pushed the party towards, I think, a little bit more of like this less stodgy, more, a little bit more activism. He was like an inspirer of like people like Breitbart, but you have like the right was always very boring. Republicans were always very boring, and the left always had these sort of, the culture was captured by sort of this progressivism already. And so when you had all these Rush babies, the chance to sort of be like a cultural icon and become like a big talking head, I think was intoxicating, especially. And then Trump sort of opened up this door to so many people. Dude, in 2016, how old was Charlie? 18, something like that. Like,
well, he was just a great man, When a great man comes around, a great man comes around. You can never match what he did. He just had the juice.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why the I want to be Rush Limbaugh thing is depressing in Charlie's case is that Charlie Kirk was much more talented than Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah, exactly.
And had much more possibility in him. Right. And so the question is like, well, why are all of these conservative pardon my French, but white men, why do they arrive on the scene with such constrained ambitions, right? They're like, oh, I want to be the next Rush Limbaugh. I want to be the next William F. Buckley. I mean, you don't want to be next. Who wants to be the next William F. Buckley? Like,
because podcasting is the greatest joy.
Matt Peterson said that.
What's more fun than podcasting?
He's so funny. Matt Peterson said that, and it speaks exactly what you just said. He's like, people on the left, they want power. They have like delusions of grandeur. They think they're going to take over the country. Yeah. Guys on the right, what they aspire to,
delusions of mediocrity.
Right. Well, they have delusions of like, man, if I could just get a second house and an intern that I can bang, like, I'm really good. Like, that's all they want to do is just like kind of ruin their life and like kind of be cool and like hang out with like other guys.
You said that, and I was like, a second house and an intern. I was like, that would be incredible. Mama gets me a second house and an intern. I'm good.
Yeah, we're right.
This is like the new social contract memes. Like,
that's all they
second house and intern. I can
state mandated boomer tribute.
Yeah,
that is like that is
I'll
the
take
grand
one house
aspiration.
and an intern.
Right. Whereas it's true. It's like guys on the left are like fantasizing about being Mao. They're like, I am going to conquer the people. Right. Whereas the guys on the right are like, yo, can I get like a fucking jet ski and
there's
cocaine?
Yeah. So it's.
Can I get a Costco premium membership?
I want to be Mao is what the DSA says, and then like the right wing is like, can I have a $20 burrito, please?
The left is like, absolutely not.
That's the Nixon thing too, right? Because they romanticized that Nixon was like the everyman. He like paid for his own school.
Oh yeah, right.
And he came from nothing and all this sort of. They love this sort. It's like he was the original pick yourself up with the bootstraps. Because every other right wing or conservative big guy is Rush Limbaugh, multimillionaire star, Ronald Reagan, California movie star, and then it was like, who the fuck cares about Bob Dole? Who cares about John? Maybe John McCain, but like definitely nobody under 60 gives a fuck about John McCain. Right,
like, they all had very similar biographies too. These guys are mentioning.
Yep. Yeah. So there's Mitt Romney is like, the billionaire is like, but Trump. Yeah, Trump. Nobody aspires to be Trump, but everybody wants it. He's like the ultimate. He was the ultimate, I think, breaker of all the rules, and then you have the lashing out of conservative because he's not a conservative, right? So there is this lashing out of conservatism since even, Shapiro hated him and a lot of them turned on him for 2024 and nobody wanted him to really run in 2024. They were like, we have to move on from this. So there is the conservatism is what has probably kneecapped the right wing movement or just whatever you want to call it, Republican movement, maybe more than anything, because it's like, guys, we have to control this. This is getting crazy. Like, and it's still how like most of the congressmen are still like that. They're like, this isn't popular. And you're like, no, this is like the most popular thing in the world. They're like, nah, I don't know if that's true. They haven't updated it. Like people, dude, Ted Cruz is going to run for president. He still thinks people care about what he has to say.
The most popular Ted Cruz was when he liked that porn on Twitter. That's like the most ride that Ted Cruz had. Everybody's like, oh yeah, actually this guy kind of rocks.
Yes. He's had a mullet as well. He cut his hair into a mullet. It's so weird.
The mullet.
Dude, Ted Cruz got really big. Cruz got huge after he lost in 2016.
Dude, he looks like
amassing weight immediately.
I do love for like 6 months. He was like, I'm gonna have a mullet and I'm gonna wear crocodile boots.
Yeah,
he literally became the JD Vance meme. But
do we want to get into some news of the day? Get some takes, some hot takes.
Sure.
I want to get everybody's take on the billionaire owner of the 49ers getting arrested for trying to get a $140 hand job from a hooker in a trailer park.
I love this guy. This guy is
as the resident spirit animal. I definitely have some
words, man. I love this.
So he tried to get a hand job.
All men should be supporting him because all the women are supporting the baby killer, and we need to stand behind the guys who just want to.
This is like Isaac's 9/11. Talk about Isaac's trying to like protest outside the Capitol.
Talk about the penalties of being heterosexual in San Francisco. Like
Oh
he's
my
the only
God.
guy that
Yeah.
has to,
The worst
Yeah.
thing you
pay
can
for.
do.
Could you
for hand
imagine?
jobs in San
Could
Francisco.
you
Good
imagine
Lord.
the level of gay sex you would have in all the time if
for
you were the
equivalent payment?
49ers owner? You would be the
Oh my
top
God.
shelf bussy all fucking day, bro.
Yeah.
You would be
forget the
just
bank
Especially this
tax.
guy.
killing it.
He's
You would
kinda
be
like
like
that
the equivalent of just
doughboy,
like
like-
living in the Victoria's Secret mansion and fucking whoever. The gay equivalent of that would be what you would be doing.
Yeah, if he was
And
having
instead-
gay sex in the car, there would be like
Yeah.
headlines calling him the bravest owner in the NFL for being willing to have gay sex.
But he was in
Honda.
East Palestine, Ohio. He
Yeah, I know.
wasn't-
Why does this keep coming
Yeah,
up?
that's-
By the way, why is East
that's-
Palestine?
The women have for Lindsay Clancy, they have the postpartum thing. For guys, it's like, yeah, he was in East Palestine, Ohio. Like that's as bad as having postpartum, psychosis. That's like
Right.
that's our male equivalent. Is
Yeah.
I'm in bumfuck Ohio doing God knows what. I
You're
need
doing-
like what
yeah.
What else are you gonna go do?
You're
Go to
doing
Chuck
a
E. Cheese. You
horrible
don't have your
drug
kids
deal.
with you.
And also,
Yeah.
dude, when you're a billionaire, you're so used to just filet mignon and Wagyu ribeye. Every now and then, you just want a fucking shitty.
You need a
Steak 'em-
cheeseburger. You
steak
need a
'em
McDonald's
cheese.
cheeseburger.
Frito pie.
You just want to go hang out in some busted ass trailer and get a hand job from maybe a chick, maybe
like,
who
God
knows?
Do we
forbid.
know that it was a hand job?
Or was it a
The
full-
Michelin restaurants do a great steak, but they can't make a quarter pounder worth a damn.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
Every now and then you want a McDonald's sandwich, even if you're a billionaire.
You
I don't
do.
know if it was a hand job
Yeah.
or not, but I love the $140. It's like, hey, I just went to the ATM. I just spent $60 on a burrito. $140 more. What can I get? That should have said. He should have came out and been like, the burrito I ate I could have given more to this young woman.
There's also no
The
shame
The
in
hooker's like,
ordering a
that's
full
going to be
steak at
7
McDonald's.
burritos, this hand job that you want.
Joel Berry is gonna post like, oh, I got the hand job for $30 behind our.
Yeah, he's like, this is not true at all.
It's not true.
My
Well, I can
entire
get one for
family
half that
ate
one.
a hand
You
job
kids just
for
don't know how to
way
do this right.
Yeah.
Dan Crenshaw is
Pull
going to be
your
like,
hand
young
jobs up
men,
by your butts bootstrap.
if you want a $140 hand job, get a fucking job, go work
Yeah.
at McDonald's, save up the money, invest in an index fund.
No, it's like you do like I do, and you walk down to the truck stop, and you get a $30 hand job. Okay? Yeah.
So amazing.
Or
He-
be a
his
man.
dinner probably was worth more than the hand job. It's
Yeah,
just
the
crazy.
home cooking. It's like, just do it yourself. God forbid.
Dude,
I think
poor
it's
guy.
really-
What a
Just give
world.
yourself
Could
a
you
hand
imagine?
job.
And
It
he's not
really goes to
Jewish.
show, like, what are we doing? These guys are billionaires. They're supposedly so powerful. These guys can't go and get a fucking hand job.
This
in
guy's a
goddamn
coach?
trailer park. Like, what?
guy's
Dude, God gave
No,
you
he's the
two
owner.
hands.
The
Like, you
owner
can
owner
of
do
the
it yourself.
49ers.
Yeah, the guy's
He's
worth billions of dollars.
Wow.
And his
$9
family
billion.
is like, yeah, it's unbelievable.
Worth $9 billion. But dude, he could have literally flown in a plane full of
Yeah.
like anywhere in the world, just like 30 million people he could have brought there on a plane. But he said, no. I need the dirty. I want the dirty. And
I'm
not
going on
Jewish.
back
He wasn't
page.
being cheap. He wasn't being cheap. He went to Notre Dame. And
So it was
but he did.
intentional.
He separated from his wife in May. So
And it's kind of sickening that he didn't even bring cash for a tip. That's kind of shitty of you. You're a billionaire and you just show up with the exact change. You're like, you go to the ATM, you can definitely get another 20, but you're gonna show up with exact change. I want to know this guy's the Wikipedia on this guy. Is he a Jew?
No,
Jed
I
a
think
Jew. That's what
not.
I'm saying. He went
I
to
think he's
Notre
not a
Dame.
Jew.
He's
No,
not a
yeah,
Jew,
not a
so he
Jew.
wasn't cheap at all. I think he didn't know. Like, dude, how does he not have somebody on speed dial? Like, he doesn't have a.
Dude, you're in
handphone?
East Palestine, bro. Where else?
That
you
doesn't,
go?
because you
It's
said it,
not-
like that doesn't make you feel alive. Like having
Yeah,
your
that's so true.
assistant organize an Instagram influencer to meet you at the
Yeah.
Hyatt, it's okay. But like being in a car and like looking around and having your
Yeah.
greasy $140, like he
Yeah.
wanted to feel alive for a minute.
Yeah, it's
The
like the
conservative
polar
state-
opposite of Epstein. Polar opposite. Like Epstein's like elaborate scheme island. He's just like, dude, I want to go to the trailer park Take me to the trailer
The
park.
conservative take is
Yeah.
on this is as soon as government gets involved, things get more expensive. Like if the police weren't out there making these $160, they would be $50.
Yeah,
We need to get government subsidizing of
that's true.
hookers out. And
It's
This
funny. He
is-
was
this
like
is
had
a
to have
form
been
of
talking to
government
an
intervention.
undercover agent, right? So the undercover agent just throws out a number, and he was like, "This isn't suspicious."
What are these people of
He's a
East
good
Palestine doing? Aren't they like dying of some sort of? Didn't they have an explosion
Yeah.
there recently?
Yeah, there are.
What are
no-
they doing?
there's
Don't they
no-
have better things to do?
there's
It's
no-
like what don't they have to clean up their rivers or something? And
Dude, I'm
instead
about
they're
to-
doing like elaborate stings on hand jobs.
Should we pull up
So
the
why is this
tryst?
happening?
Should we pull up the tryst.com of East Palestine and just see what the women actually look like? Because I bet.
Yeah, where did
Yes.
I don't even know
Yes.
what Tryst.com is. What is this?
Yeah, I don't know what it
he?
is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
right, Dave.
Actually,
Dude,
like,
let's screen share. Screen share right now. Let's
I
go
remember-
through it.
Hold on, I gotta
I
make
remember
sure
one time
my
I
cookies
flew
don't
into
show up.
Phoenix. I remember one time I flew into Phoenix and I was sitting next to this very portly fellow, large fella. And as soon as we landed, as soon as we landed and you could take it off airplane mode, that guy was on Backpage just scrolling like crazy, just
Based.
going nuts, like
Was that me?
going hard in the paint. I think it was Harrison I was sitting by and I had no idea at the time.
All right, I'm pulling this up.
And I
This
was
is
like,
gonna
I
be
think I was like
awesome.
17 or something. I look over, I'm like, what? It was just the worst looking. Yeah, exactly this.
What
Yep.
am I looking at?
There we go.
Oh wow. Yeah, but these
Okay,
are like
400,
fake, though. These are
300.
fake. East
Well, that's-
what even is East Palestine? Why is Palestine in the news again? Why is everything about Palestine?
I believe it's pronounced
Oh,
Palestine. I
yeah,
love, dude.
what
I
is
I
think
just
it is
real quick. I love
Palestine, yeah.
Ben Braddock goes, Isaac, you regard.
Well, no, because he's referring
Dude,
to the
I know,
original
funny.
guy.
It's a good bit.
I think he got a
Okay.
good deal. I'm seeing 300 as the floor, just
Yeah.
based on
Whoa.
these.
Wow.
I mean,
Hoflation is
Oh,
real,
look
guys.
at Aqua.
By the way-
Aqua Blow. Look
By
at
the
Aqua
way,
BBW. Aqua
we're in-
BBW. She looks
Yeah.
like a good candidate.
we're in 30-mile radius.
Is this
There's
in
only
East
this is
Palestine?
it.
Okay.
This is all that's available. So
Okay. Angel down there in the bottom left. Okay.
this had to be
This
her.
this
had
is
to be the one
definitely a
that
cop.
got him.
Sorry, this is the cop. This is the cop.
Yeah.
This is who got him.
This is a
Should we text her? Let's text her real quick. Somebody call her. Let's get her on the
No,
pod.
these are all fake. These things are all fucking
Like,
fake.
hello, Officer.
No,
Angel?
he must have had some other
Oh, ew.
Oh, yeah.
that ain't
Let's
fake.
Aqua BBW, baby.
go.
That ain't fake.
Aqua.
Must use condoms.
Yeah.
No, this
Oh,
is
yeah,
not a
because
cop.
you're going to
This
get
one is not a
pregnant.
cop.
That's 62.
This is real.
This is not a cop.
That is
but
the
imagine
cop.
she's
That's
the
the
not a
cop.
cop, dude.
That's
That is who he was
100%
going
real.
to see, bro.
And what's insane is that if that's the person you're soliciting, you
Whoa!
Yep, exactly.
wow.
So you
Sorry,
should be
I
arrested.
feel
for
bad. We're
soliciting those ladies.
Dave is a very nice
Dude.
Christian.
Dude.
man. Oh my god!
Oh my
Stop! Stop! Oh
Dude.
no!
Dude, that's what happens when a
Dude.
train derails in your
Dude,
city.
if she's
trying to
$400,
tell
the
you are
economy is
idiot.
crashing this month. The entire economy is going to
Yeah,
crash this
$400.
month.
If
She's
that's
$400.
We
$400,
are in a fake
it's
economy.
over. It's totally
Sell,
crap.
sell everything.
Yeah, and the insane
menu.
thing is that if you are soliciting those women, you are the person who should be arrested. But it's the guys that would go for the hot chick on there that are going to get arrested.
Yeah.
What did that
Just
say?
bolt.
VIP
It's like-
weekend with her is $6,000, $5,000.
Oh,
Bro.
oh my!
Bruh.
Sell
We
everything,
have to-
dude. Sell your
honestly-
house, sell your boat,
Yeah.
sell your
There's
a
stuff,
bubble.
sell
Hey,
everything.
just want to be
There's a
clear right
bubble.
now. Tune in next week. She will be a guest on this podcast.
Dude, I
because-
feel bad.
Yeah.
Dave is such a good, like, wholesome guy, and we're
I'm sorry, Dave.
exposing
Oh
him. to
no,
this-
I'm
this
totally.
Sorry,
This is after the whole Lindsay Clancy affair. This is like the least disturbing thing involving women I've seen.
Yeah. Well, there's a
Online,
story.
uh,
All right. So let's talk about that. So we just had sent a guy up there for.
Oh, really?
A guy
We did?
just we got a guy.
So
there.
apparently manslaughter is on the table, which is crazy.
No.
Apparently, also I learned today that it's an all-female jury.
And dude,
Yeah,
our
it's
guy
like
said one of the
9-3.
jurors, dude, our embedded reporter said one of the jurors was wearing a pink dress.
Oh,
So
well,
it's like that. I feel like that's a signal they got one on the inside.
She's getting off.
if you're a Daily
She's
Wire influencer, I've got like a film pitch for you. Do 12 Angry Men, but make it all female and just have like the most psychotic murder, but they all like psyop each other into thinking he's innocent. And by the end of like the one stage thing, they also psyop each other into making like generally bad life decisions. Like, I'm going to become a sex tourist in the Congo or something like that. You know?
The movie's just like 3.5 minutes long, and they all immediately agree that she's innocent. There's no deliberation.
Yeah, it's like 12 and it's like 12 Angry Men, and it ends in just like society turning into a jungle. Like that's the end of it.
But that's just a slightly sped up version of 12 Angry Men. But I'm trying to find a comedic take with this whole Lindsay Clancy thing, because otherwise it's just absolute despair about what is the state of modern.
She's women.
It just feels like.
To be fair, though, to be fair, everybody's trying to blame women, and it's like, but women also were huge fans of. I mean, they lined up for Ted Bundy. You know, it's like this is just what they do. I don't know. Right? Like why?
Like Luigi Mangione, right?
You have to be sexy.
Well, no, but Mangione is a totally different thing. They lined up for Bundy. Bundy, that's the really crazy one, because Bundy was like.
But dude, remember, think about this.
They lined up for Bundy because he was hot, and they're lining up for her because she's not. That's...
No, exactly. Casey Anthony killed her kid, but she was hot. Zero support from women. Women will never support you if you're hot. So if you're ugly and kill your kids, you were the next OJ for women. But here, my take is,
well, she's a very particular stage of the. If she was heavily overweight and looked like trailer trash, then she'd get zero support too, right?
Okay, so
she's right. There's a very big Goldilocks zone where like you look like you put a lot of effort in. You can kind of like see that you're professional class, but at the same time, you're obviously experiencing kind of like you look middle-aged even though you're probably in your 30s, you know. That's a great kind of look. That's what they're going for. You know, that woman you were on the screen, if she, what's her name, Aqua, whatever her face was, if she had killed her kids, women would not be supporting her at all.
That's a good point.
Well, it wouldn't be a news story either that would blow up like this. I think that's the whole thing. Like, she's sort of the every woman. She's sort of like this semi-cute, but not really. But my take is, I do blame men, because what are you as a man? Like, women have no agency. It's you run your household. What are you doing? She's obviously going crazy. She's told you like 20 times she's going to kill the kids, and you're just like, oh, just go to the doctor and take your pills.
Dude,
like,
he literally just left to get some fucking takeout. She picked a restaurant, and he just went to go pick up the food from the restaurant.
Because he's a cuck and he's weak.
This is why you never.
If your wife kills your kids,
and
bro,
they had a nanny, I'm pretty
house,
sure
that's on you, bro. I really did. And then he remarried to a chick that looks exactly the same.
Wow, guys have types. I don't know, dude. That's one of those things that I just feel like you can't even like imagine, like, because you can get in a bad circumstance. I have friends who have like. I have a friend who has like a weird situation. I'm not gonna say anything besides this because I don't want anybody to know. But he's got a weird situation with his wife, and he's a very normal guy. It's kind of tough. You get stuck, bro. You get stuck. Like, you know, you get stuck in these things. I don't know if we know. Who knows what was going on? I don't know. I mean, in their marriage, you know, like who knows what the deal was.
I mean, you have a little baby, you know, it just gets weird.
Right. And it's like, I don't know. I feel it's really terrible.
Well, I think that this is not a normal woman that we're talking about here. I think that we kind of bought the projection that's going on. Like, this is just a woman who's suffering from postpartum depression, and this is just an extension of intrusive thoughts. I think that's bullshit. I think this woman was some kind of premeditated psycho. I think she's wanted to do something like that for a long time to escape her life, and this was the postpartum was an excuse for that. There's just too much premeditation involved, and you know, I think that what we're seeing really is projection on the part of all of these kind of groupies that she has around her now. So, although I mean, it does. The more interesting story is not Lindsay Clancy or her husband. The real story is we've really underestimated just how cooked the median female brain is on social media.
Yeah.
This year in particular, it used to be kind of like, okay, like all of our brains are kind of cooked on social media. It's, this is not healthy. We need to get off of it. We know women are a little bit more susceptible, but this, and like the article that came out of the New Statesman about just like literally like bringing the numbers of how many women in their 20s just hate men, like generally, all of these things together just demonstrate that women are really susceptible to this stuff, and they are not all right. And I'm not sure what the solution is to all of this. I mean, are we just going to crash out as a society and then pick up the pieces? This is totally unacceptable.
Pitting the sexes against each other politically was probably the worst thing I think to ever happen.
I mean, even BAP, one of my favorite things he says is that was the biggest cell phone in all civilizational history. Was
because like
women being in the workplace. It's kind of true.
It's a variety of like security mechanisms that have been disabled, but like now the loop's closed. Like, so you have women in the workplace, and then you have women voting in elections, right? Which is already kind of dangerous because now women's economic interests are separated from men's, and they're also in a political environment that, in democracy, coalition voting is what is incentivized, and women naturally coalition with each other. But like the thing that was kind of tethering this process down and stopping it from kind of going exponential was the fact that women still had to interact with ordinary human social environments and not in high-speed communication environments like social media. And then we just did that. We got them all on group chats and Nextdoor and Facebook, and now women get their money from NGOs or the government or some corporate program that's created by NGOs or the government. They get their social validation from social media, and there's nothing controlling that except a social media environment that by definition doesn't ever apply pressure to these intrusive collective thoughts that the bare sex experiences rather periodically. And then you get like Lindsay Clancy, which, this individual murder case is not really very relevant to our lives, but the idea that you can create movements like this is very relevant to our lives, and they just go viral.
I think it's just rot. It's rot on the banana, It's like the banana is so rotten and it's so brown and totally, it's like Harrison's bananas
penis?
that he's growing.
My
It's
penis?
like Harrison's genetics, excuse me. Just so brown and rotten and just bombed out and depleted. No, it's just, you're seeing the rotting banana, right? And this is just like, it's so absurd what you're seeing. And it's like, it's just when you're watching your society rotting, there's going to be all kinds of weird shit. This is what, what the meaning of Purple Rain is, the great
Prince
song,
album?
Purple Rain. You know what Purple Rain is?
No, other than just a good album.
No, but I mean, what's Purple Rain, right?
Well, no, you got me. I don't know.
And
I never
he goes,
listened to it.
for everybody who knows what I'm talking about, swing it, Purple Rain. Purple Rain is like the end of the world. It's like, you ever see the great movie, really great movie, Melancholia, Lars von Trier?
Oh yeah, of
really
course.
good.
All the Lars von Trier movies. Yeah.
So like in the end, when the world is genuinely ending, weird stuff starts happening. Like the birds start falling out of the sky, and the trees turn red, and like the water starts flowing in the wrong direction, and all these everything becomes like bizarre and chaotic and like super weird. It's kind of like, in friggin' Shakespeare, when Julius Caesar, the night before he's going to die, that's what we're experiencing. Like the thing is, it's like the birds are flying out of the sky, or like falling out of the sky. That's what Lindsay Clancy is. Like things are so fucking dying that it's like, that's what this is a phenomenon of. I feel like that women are flocking to support a woman who murdered her children. Like what? Who would have ever thought this is even possible at all? And the weird thing is, our guy on the ground out there, he says a ton of these women, almost all of them, so he talked to them and stuff, they are mothers and nurses and she is a nurse. Clancy herself was a nurse.
Yeah.
Right?
She was a
Which feels-
child
yeah,
delivery
People don't call it-
nurse.
That feels relevant. That's like a very culturally and symbolically relevant fact of this case that very few people have mentioned. But like it
Yeah.
feels like it has a lot of like Jordan Peterson symbolic power, you know.
Yeah.
She was
well,
a
and it's
labor
weird
and
that it's like
delivery
she's a
nurse?
nurse. Yeah, she's a nurse.
She
and
was
she's
a
a mother.
birth and delivery nurse. So she
Labor
literally
delivery.
worked specifically in like babies, helping babies be born. That was her job every single day.
That's insane. You know, my mom was a labor and delivery nurse, and she was also crazy. It's crazy.
Really? Oh, so
Yeah.
you should be supporting Lindsay Clancy. Then.
Well, also
Barbara
our
Clancy,
guy who's
whatever her name
reporting
is.
it, like he has, at least from the way he was putting it, it seems like a lot of them have some pretty weird theories. Like there are certain ones who are just straight up like, you know, I'm so empathetic and understanding of mental health issues or postpartum that I'm defending her or whatever. But there's a lot more who seem to be entertaining like weird theories about how the husband actually killed her, or it's all some kind of conspiracy, or she's been framed because they saw like one weird piece of evidence. Like the husband posted this hiking review, and this black woman's like convinced that then he is the one who actually killed the kids and framed his wife. So you kind of just have a lot of like schizophrenic people as well. And we're just a very conspiratorial culture in general at the moment.
Well, I mean, people say that this is sort of the fact that the internet's broken our brains is part of this kind of return to humans' mystical understanding of the universe, that these phenomenon make more sense when you describe them in mystical terms than they make sense when you describe them in factual terms.
Right.
And, you know, this is why our language is, and probably LLMs have sped this up a lot. Like in order to be kind of authentic and human, we have to kind of use this this kind of mystical way of describing the universe through experience and through emotional connection to symbols. So we can escape like this trap of like formalism and the fact that formalistic ways of communication are easily hackable. And I'm getting off on a tangent, but I think that this might be the beginning of that, symbolic collapse, so to speak, of modernism. Like this is us fully exiting the modern point of view on the world.
Yeah, and we're like regressing to this like more classical weird state. Yeah, I could see that. Okay, what other news stories you got there?
We touched on a couple of these. I think there's one that's a little more not as entertaining, but more wonky, which is the State Department designating the Italian Antifa affiliate as a terrorist group.
Oh, you just got this from, I don't know.
Not interesting.
Was this the State Department thing they put out here?
Yeah.
I'm kind of wondering a lot about these European Antifa movements. Do you remember Femin or whatever that stuff was?
Yeah.
Like,
what was that?
where did that, like, if I know you guys are investigative journalists, where the hell did that thing come from? Like, what is the story behind that? It's like, Europe is in the early 2000s, like nothing is really going on that's that radicalizing. And out of nowhere is this radical female group that has connections to occultism just like springs out of nowhere and becomes like a huge deal. There's a story behind that has just never been told.
That's fascinating. I think there's a few of those too. I mean, some people are saying that Cuba funds a lot of this stuff, or the money gets funneled through Cuba, and they're like, it's all these other sort of host nations that are funding these groups. They're well funded. They're well organized. There is no proxy to them on the right, except for guys LARPing, in the woods for the most part. I think it's. Can we drone them now? Can you just kill? You can kill terrorists like extrajudiciously.
I guess
right?
Barack Obama established the precedent.
Right. So, I mean, if we're going to just drone fucking communists in European countries, then I take back everything I said. I'm back on the MAGA train fully. Because that would be beyond conservatism, obviously. That would be That would be truly some right wing.
Well, no, I mean,
That
the
would be
reason they
crazy.
do this is because, there is no such thing as a domestic terrorist legally. You guys know that? There's no such thing as, so there's a terrorist list. And once you're on the terrorist list, you can, you get various investigations and statuses can be revoked and blah, blah, blah. But there's no domestic terrorist designation. So remember back when Trump was like, Antifa's a
Antifa
domestic
is a
terrorist
terrorist,
organization, and then they like looked into it and they're like, oh, there is no domestic terrorists, so they have to tie it to a foreign entity in order to
Because-
rope in American entities.
The whole point is to skirt around ordinary legal procedural protections that would stand in the way of this. And, the left kind of being hegemonic culturally and legally, whatever leeway intelligence and deep state bodies have had to go after domestic terrorists, they've lost them after the 70s and 80s when people kind of clamped down on that stuff. So I guess that probably those things are opened up by the Patriot Act or something like that. But I don't know. I mean, Europe is a whole other can of worms. I kind of wonder what's going to happen. I think that there's going to, I wouldn't be surprised if the political realignment starts in Europe and then moves to America. It is, I know that we're all thinking like that the realignment is going to take place in America, depending on what happens with the Democrats or the Republicans or JD Vance, but it's very possible the realignment starts somewhere in Europe and then moves on from there. Possibly in England, possibly in France. Although you never hear about France. It's kind of weird though, isn't it? You'd think that France would be kind of, you hear a lot about England, you hear a lot about Spain, you hear a lot about Italy, never hear about France. So it's
I don't
strange.
think France is that bad as people think. I think England is that bad.
Well,
but
bad in what way? Like close to a revolution? You mean they're stable, or do you mean that they're?
I mean like immigration and general like third world descent that I think like is happening in England. The thing with like France is it's still very largely majority French and white, like as a country. And in the cities where it's a problem, like Paris, I lived there for a little while, and it's all in really specific outer districts. Like there's like ghettos outside of Paris proper, basically, that are like filled with Africans and Indians, but they're always like outside the city, and it's still like the city itself is still largely like fine. I'm not saying there's not like bad immigration, but England, on the other hand, is genuinely, London at this point is like 30% British people,
Yeah, it's like it's crazy in those. I mean, maybe I heard that we don't really even know because of the French's demographic blindness. It doesn't collect these numbers reliably, so who knows? But I don't know. We'll say, something needs to change in these environments, and the problem is no one really can come up with a good story about how that occurs.
Well, this is what I was kind of saying earlier. Like, I just don't really know what's left on the docket. Like, what is the mission for the right at this point? It seems to me like there's not really I don't even know. Like, what is the mission? For me, a lot of it was cultural. Like, a lot of it was about the culture war more than anything in terms of the Trump era. And I would say the right I would say a good analogy actually for it is like the new atheist movement in the 2010s, which a lot of people think was a failure. But what actually happened is just everybody kind of became atheist. So there stopped really being a need for a new atheist movement. So they won by being like absorbed and becoming invisible.
Yeah,
And with conservatives now, like political incorrectness has also similarly now been like absorbed into popular culture on the left as well. So now you have people on the left like Hassan Piker who will make fun of Charlie Kirk's death or like Mamdani's wife or whatever, and no one cares. So it's a thing where the battles that had to be won actually were won, and now it's just like, well, what's the next thing on the docket?
Well, in both of these cases, what you're describing is a removal or a decline or a decay of something, right? Like new atheists, what they said they wanted was like a return to rationalism, a return to kind of sanity, and they correctly were able to culturally group in American evangelicals like Osama bin Laden and all that stuff. And what you're saying when what they won is they essentially made irreverence towards religion something that was acceptable everywhere and almost expected in mainstream culture, such that you could see new atheist tropes appear in like Marvel movies or whatever, which would be kind of unheard of. I mean, it may be a little bit in previous iterations of pop culture, but the same thing is true. These are all the conservative movement. What it wants is it wants a return to sort of cultural health, but what it got was, now we destigmatized Hail Hitler jokes or whatever, that is, that, and that probably will be the legacy, but, all this does, I mean, in many ways, the new atheist movement for that very reason was a complete failure, because they made a return to the sort of anti-liberal traditions almost a necessity, such that, when you look at the positive things that Dawkins identified about the West in the early 2000s, we laugh at those things now. Like, this is insane. And it's insane to think that they would emerge organically out of a secular society, such that now the Dawkins of 2026 in his decrepit state largely is just posting against the Dawkins of 2000. So, I feel like all of these declines, all they're doing is just re-underlining and re-underlining and re-underlining this desperate need to kind of create something that really can only exist in kind of this mythologized moment, right? And the real struggle is, okay, now nothing is sacred. Now we can make fun of the Holocaust and Anne Frank and 9/11, and Hassan Piker can say that he's a Maoist or loves Stalin or wants to do whatever to white Americans. Now that everything is horribly blasphemous, what comes out of this moment that isn't just totally chaos? What comes out of it that is, that what's the answer to all of this stuff? Like, what is the answer to something that's not Hassan Piker or whatever the equivalent of Nick Fuentes, I guess?
I think a lot of the discourse that I hear, at least, is like there's kind of a, I don't know, like a blind spot that a lot of people have, that like they kind of want like a return to the 50s almost, but they don't realize like how puritanical the 50s is. It's like,
yeah,
like it's not going to kind of be what you want. You want like a nation that looks like Andy Griffith, but like you don't realize how like puritanical Andy Griffith is. Like that's a very very Christian, like all these guys that like, they say fuck and motherfucker, and
you're not getting the
like,
$140 hand job in the Andy Griffith 50s world either.
No.
Yeah,
so they, it's kind of what they want. They want like a Rockwell painting, but they don't realize that it comes with like a lot of like their speech would be curtailed pretty heavily in something like that.
Well,
so I think like JD Vance. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I mean, I'm just saying, I mean, like you can, what people really miss about the 50s is they miss the sense of spiritual vitality that was everywhere in America. I mean, we have this idea of the 50s being kind of the stodgy Andy Griffin, Ozzie and Harriet. I don't even think I've ever seen that show once in my entire life, but I know of it because it's associated with the 50s. But if you went to New York, my father lived in New York in the 50s, and he said it was the most vibrant place culturally he's ever been in his entire life. It was just everybody was doing something that was like going to change the world imminently, and you could feel the vibration everywhere. And that's what people want. Even religious people want that as well, right? Religious people institute norms and boundaries because you need boundaries and norms to create space for life to happen, so that not everything's drowned out by blasphemy, right? But no one wants to take that step, right? No one wants to be the person that does that hard first step. And I think that we're just experiencing is kind of a decline until that hard next step is just, this just needs to be done. It just has to be done. Someone just does it.
Yeah, a lot of these guys, they want, they really want like their virgin, like young wife, and to go to the strip club. And it's like you're not like going to get both of those things.
Yeah, of course.
There's like I mean, maybe you could,
You
but
might.
like they want a society that provides a bunch of like young virgin, potential wives, and also, but they don't really want to be like puritanical themselves in that sense. Like they want to, they want to have their kind of their blasphemies themselves and stuff. So it's not going to work. Like I think that a lot of people don't realize like you're going to have to give up a lot of things that you like for something which I don't think people are willing to do.
I also think
You
like
will-
with yeah,
Go ahead.
Dave.
I
No,
would
go
say
ahead.
you will know that we are coming out of this phase when you see young men joining monasteries and becoming ascetics. That is the I mean, it might be a while. It might be another generation or two before you see a movement back in that direction. But that is the point where kind of cultural winter becomes spring again.
I don't see it happening. The monasteries. I think they're going to be playing GTA 6 and shit. I don't think they're going to be going to the
I'm not saying
monasteries.
everybody. I'm not saying like a mass movement. I'm saying you'll see some. You'll see some people who are looking in that direction.
Yeah, I'm saying, I think from my perspective, coming from like a very like evangelical Christian background, like the closest thing that I've seen to what these guys want is actually in like the evangelical Christian world. Like a lot, like what I grew up in, like a lot of the girls were virgins when they got married. Like they got married really young. It was pretty white. I mean, as white as can be in America in this day and age. But like they would consider a lot of the rules and stuff like that to be very cultish. Like I just know they would. Like, I mean, I grew up, you couldn't play like violent video games. Like you couldn't, like it was very puritanical. So it's like they don't really know what it's like to grow up that way because they grew up kind of like maybe ethnically Christian, but like they don't really know what that looks like. And I think I know have a closer idea of what that looks like. And in my later years, I'm kind of like a rebellious figure anyway, so I kind of rebelled against that, So it's like I've
Pub's
seen
kind of
both
like
sides of
a.
it.
I don't know if you know Dave. He's kind of like a bad boy. He's kind of like a rebellious figure.
Yeah, I'm a real rebellious
Kinda
bad boy.
gonzo.
I mean,
He's
real
kind of
gonzo.
gonzo.
Real gonzo. No, but I mean, like, I would be considered that within my like community I grew up in. So but that's like the point. Like, you guys are like, you don't even do like coke, and it's like, yeah, but that's kind of the point. Like, it's so far removed from that. It's just ridiculous. It's like, I mean, not ridiculous. I think it's good in some degrees. I mean, it's ridiculous that some people like are pining for something that they don't really understand, and like,
Well,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know people who've become priests, and I mean, it happens. I'm not saying it's for most people, obviously. It is. I've known people who become Franciscan friars or priests or Dominicans. It takes a special kind of person to do that and to commit your life to that, but it's possible. And I don't know. I think that it does seem to me that like the treadmill towards more and more stimulation, it's got to end somewhere, because I think people's brains are cucking. Certainly women's brains are cucking, right? And I don't exactly know what the solution is, other than to reintroduce something that's different, or some kind of some mode of friction or something like that.
This baby killing should be like Trump's martial law moment with like medication for women. He should deploy the National Guard to take away Prozac from like all women nationwide. It should be the Reichstag fire.
Those
of that.
The
SSRIs.
Reichstag fire of
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like Australia, where they like buy back your guns. They should offer women like coupons and gift cards to like give back their Prozac.
Give us your SSRIs and you get this gift certificate to Bed Bath and Beyond.
Yeah.
or Lululemon. There you go.
Depop.
Lululemon.
Depop credits for like turning in your Prozac to the the Navy.
Yeah. Well, so James Pogue came on here in an episode that everybody really loved, and his whole explanation is basically that, so it used to be the society kind of can decide whether or not it rewards risk taking and sort of financial speculation, or if it rewards like saving and, like prudent behavior and, saving up and all this stuff. And he's like, basically, we've been on the trajectory of just increasingly from the beginning of the country, we've just more and more and more every single year, we reward financial speculation and risk taking, and we punish frugality. We punish responsible decision making in your life and all these things. And his thesis is that basically that has come to such a head that the economy is being kept afloat. He calls it the hacky sack economy. It's being kept constantly like pushed up by these arbitrary acts. And the Iran war is one of them. And, there's all these kind of things that we have to keep doing in order to sort of simulate this fake economy being pushed up forever. Yeah. And it'll never, and it can't, the second it goes in reverse, right? The second it goes the other direction, everything falls apart.
Yeah. And then this would correspond the cultural permissiveness and encouragement of risk taking and ever escalating dopamine hits. This corresponds also to low interest rates. How much money does time cost is the question, right? It also corresponds in psychology to high or low time preference, right? And if you think that we're growing, then you want to be constantly investing and constantly printing money and constantly taking these huge risks, and because there's always going to be a better horizon for you. But if that tapers off, then the whole system just kind of putters out, and then we're in a radically different world than the one we occupy currently.
Yeah.
That's not very cheery.
Dave, what would you call yourself now? If you're not, what is your, because I want to be in whatever political party you're starting for sure. Like that's my political party. Like whatever you are, that's definitely what I am, which I tweeted. So what are you? I mean, you're obviously not conservative. You're obviously not left wing. You're obviously not liberal. So what are you?
I guess I just always call myself a right winger. Obviously, I adopted the meme ideology distributism way back in the YouTube days. So I like that one, but it's kind of a Catholic meme at this stage, so I probably should abandon it. I don't know. I guess I just consider, I don't like voting. I try as much as possible to not vote as far as I can morally justify it. So usually only in local elections. I don't know. I guess I am just somebody who wants to be all in it for the human race and for sane human traditions, and for kind of like a feeling of sacred connection to the divine, which I have a very strong religious belief in. And I think that if you talk rationally to people and you're not sucked into social media algorithms, I think that there's a lot of agreement out there. And it's kind of a shame that discourse died, because I feel like when discourse was going in between like 2012 to 2022, a lot of people were waking up to a lot of necessary realities, and we were kind of coming to this idea of what kind of a good life would look like in modernity if it was not only just like a small group of people online. And now I feel like that conversation's just totally fallen off. And I think that the conservative movement's in the process of dying. I think that after the conservative movement dies, then white progressivism is already dead, but it will obviously kind of degrade away into whatever this kind of weird third world.
Because you say this a lot. You say like they're actually very weak. You say that the progressives are a lot weaker than they seem. But then what is it?
Progressives are. It becomes kind of this third world, gives me that kind of thing, like eternal, like government financed slop to make sure that the people who are, you know, in the most degraded state possible get their can afford their shitty food and their porn streaming services and their video games forever. And that will be like what leftism is. It will be, how do we pay out Gibbs to my friends, and it'll also be kind of like getting even with the people who I think are doing better than me. And there'll be an alliance between the third worldists who want to kind of like suck the marrow out of Western civilization so that they can, you know, they can live out the life they think the first world had at some stage, which will obviously be highly degraded. And then that they will coalition politically with people whose main meaning in life is just getting revenge on the people they think did better than them or are responsible for them not getting where they wanted to be. And that's going to be the political coalition of the left. And they'll come up with some phony baloney, like, revolutionary front page version of itself. But this will not be, in my book, that what I described there, that's not leftism. That's not what progressivism was in the 20th century. Progressivism was like Gene Roddenberry's Star Trek. Progressivism was this vision, like this very positive vision of a future that would be like some socialist characteristics, some capitalist characteristics, but that would be like this elevated state of humanity. That is what is dying, right? All of their ideological visions, their aesthetic visions of the universe going forward, that is going to be subsumed behind Gibbs me that, and I want revenge against people who I think screwed me over or screwed my ancestors over, or the boyfriend who didn't marry me. You know, that will be the new face of the left, and it will unsuccessfully try to hide behind some revolutionary banner. But in my book, that's not progressivism, and that will be the death of ideological white progressivism will be brought about probably by the death of conservatism, because they need to have that enemy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what will emerge, what I'm hoping will emerge, is the coalition that opposes that kind of Gibbs me that we want revenge thing will be a coalition of people who actually want to have a future for human children, and they want to have they don't want Gibbs, they want a life. They want, you know, a path that humans can work and live and die and strive and create beautiful things and build communities that has friction, that has the ability for people to actually thrive in capacities we would identify as being virtuous. And does it matter that, you know, you're the girl boss? Does it matter if you're the person who's getting hand jobs for $160? No, let's put that aside. Let's focus on like what the good human life is and what the healthy human life is, and then procure that for communities of people. I'm hoping that will be the opposition to whatever comes out of this Hassan Piker world that is obviously, you know, the thing that's in ascendancy or soon to be in ascendancy.
So yeah, all right, go ahead.
Was that too bleak?
No, I have no comment.
Well, so but what is that counterposing thing going to be?
Well, I mean, the problem is that I don't think it's really come into existence yet.
Yeah,
I think that it is going to come. I think it's going to come from the right. I think that you see the beginnings of this, and, you know, the people who are kind of, you know, I mean, I don't want to point to anyone in particular, but, you know, the people who are kind of looking at postmodernity or radical postmodernity, like the death of modernity, and they're asking themselves critical questions about what the good human life is. Those people will kind of start putting together some things. And then, you know, I think also that there might be, you know, once you have sort of this also could be accelerated by multipolarity too. If there is the dynamic internationally is just dominated by the history of imperialism and this idea that Europe and America are rich countries with infinite amounts of money, and everywhere else is just like the third world and is developing and needs to get money from them. And once that dynamic changes and elites in these other countries have to deal with sort of similar problems, I think that there could be a lot of different perspectives that emerge from that. But who knows, right? There's got to be some way to organize people that is not just infinite Gibbs, infinite slop, and let's keep that process going, because and infinite and revenge-based politics.
Well, I feel like in LA, I've really been given sort of a front seat to this, because we have two things happening in LA. One, we have total leftist takeover, and the brown leftist type of takeover, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the total. Have you heard about this thing they're doing? Nithya Raman and Karen Bass. They're the same. She's. Which one's further left? You don't really know, but. Do you see this thing that they're doing with the election donation matching? Have you seen this?
No, I have not seen that one. Yeah. I saw that the weird shenanigans that went on in the primary.
Oh, well, that was the most egregious election feeling I've ever seen in my entire life, by far. And that was sort of evidence of where we're at, like what time it is in LA, which is that it's just over completely. They're doing this thing now, and Bass just got criticized for it. They've actually done it this entire election cycle. But so under the guise of equity, they give $5 of public money for every $1 given to a mayoral campaign. Right? So Karen Bass records this video being like, every dollar you give to my campaign gets 5 times by taxpayer dollars. So how is that even possible? Everybody's like, well, what are you talking about? You can't just take public money and give it to your campaign. But she says, crazy. But the excuse is all candidates get to do it, right? So all candidates supposedly get to 5 times their donations.
Wow.
With public dollars. So me, one of the few people who actually pays taxes in this state.
Yeah.
My money is being stolen and given to Bass's campaign times 5 for every dollar she gets from a normal donation.
This is crazy when you take it to the aggregate, right? Because that means that the only smart way to spend your money is to then just spend your money donating it to the other side. Yeah. And so the government is literally paying one person to dig a hole and the other person to fill it up.
Well,
right?
I mean,
it's zero sum, right? So if the government gives $4 to Bass and then $4 to Ramon, and they're in competition with each other, that it's done functionally nothing, right?
But they're not in competition with each other. That's the thing. The thing is that they know they will never actually face any real competition. Look at what they did with Spencer Pratt. This was a big reason to cheat Pratt out, because they know me, right? I don't want to give money to Bass, but since they know they're never going to not be in power, they're so entrenched, they are never going to lose power. The only candidates that are going to survive are going to be left candidates. So therefore, all the money that goes to elections, period, gets multiplied times 5 by people like me.
Yeah.
It's an absolutely insane system. And that's like where we're at. So you have that going on. They're just totally have taken over completely. Like there's no chance. The right has absolutely, and the right's a joke anyway. I mean, the conservatives are the biggest joke in the world, in California, truly the worst. But simultaneously, you know what else we have here? We have El Segundo, which is like the new American dynamism, right-wing, entrepreneurial
military
thing.
Tech.
And what I was hoping, what I was actually really hoping was that would be the new right. Like I was hoping that's where I could go. I was hoping, you know what? I'll become one of these American dynamism guys.
Yeah.
And it's not happening.
Yeah.
That's not the right. I think because of the Iran war, if we hadn't done the Iran war, we could have all gotten behind reindustrialization and rearmament and American hustle and Elon Musk and Palmer Luckey and all this stuff, right? We could have gotten behind that. But now that the Iran war is happening, I don't feel right going and like I don't want to get involved with just like mass murder of random people. You know, I don't want to be involved with that. So,
Pussy.
yeah, I know. Sorry, Masad. Sorry, Masad. So it's like, where are we gonna go here?
Children. How can I
mean,
do
look,
a brand deal with El Segundo now?
Yeah. I don't. I will definitely do brand deals with El. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I'm not doing brand deals with El Segundo, but yeah.
The question is where does non-progressive money or funding come from? This is sort of what no one's really answered, is that the progressive movement in its dying form is funded by the state. And it's funded. It's crazy how much money flows into the left when you really think about it. It's crazy how much money is flowing into the left when you really think about it. And it's something that we really can't imagine, sitting right here. Everyone here has to slave away to the algorithm and try to make a living with our own wits. The left just basically collects on it, and they have the youth of America kind of delivered to their little seminaries for college, and then they make a tidy profit on this process. It is something that I think we will need to think about when there is a political realignment. And I think in the meantime, all I have is just do things in parallel, make your own projects as cool as you possibly can, leverage the technologies that are available to us and the money that we have. I see a lot of promise in this direction. The right culturally, as far as I'm concerned, which just means people who are not progressive, it's doing great work. It's the most interesting place to be. The most interesting writers are on our side. People that they're actually moving in directions that feel fruitful. It's been a great revolution in that regard. There's just no money.
Yeah.
And there's no political formula that can really transform all of these individual markets into a movement. And the only thing that really would be some kind of forceful personality like a Charlie Kirk, but with much, much larger ambitions. And that person hasn't emerged yet. But the possibility is there because the talent is there and the will is there. And the sort of need is there, and I feel like we're just kind of waiting for the right time. I think a lot of what sort of limits the right wing is they're like, oh well, we just don't have enough time to pull off all of these cool projects. Like the time is running out for us. Yeah, I guess so. In the sense that, can we keep the world of the 20th century around? That probably is already faded away. And I'm not going to celebrate this. I'm not going to celebrate the financial collapse or any of these other kind of crises that are on the horizon in the next 5 years. But, all I can say is that when we come to human ingenuity and will and vision for the future, that Imagineering, so to speak, or that kind of radical sense of kind of engaging with what's possible, I only see that really occurring on the right or on the non-progressive side of things. And, that's going to be a necessary component to anything that comes next. And hopefully the work that we're doing here to kind of spearhead that is going to be a component to what comes next.
Dave, do you think there's ever, I know you're a big Yarvinist, as am I, but do you think that there has ever been a right-wing society ever? Because, Yarvin's whole thing is like, no, the entire, everything always has been left wing, for the past 400 years.
I guess I don't see, I think, look, I mean, like right wing and left wing represent different modes of thinking politically. Like that's critical to understand. And like, but history always flows to the left because it's a civilizational cycle, right? So if you're pushing in the direction of the civilizational cycle, then you are essentially thinking in a leftist mode. And if you're pushing against it, then you're in a right-wing mode, so to speak. Now, there are things that, like, things can't keep on going in the left-wing direction. So circumstances are going to have to, at some point, like, set society back on a footing that we would look at and say that is more right wing in the kind of spiritual sense. And that has happened many times in history. You're right. There's no political movement that's like, I am a right wing political movement and this is my 10-point plan to take us back in a right wing direction permanently. That hasn't happened. There have been lots of movements that have successfully arrested or slowed down the civilizational cycle. There have been many instances where the civilizational cycle does a turn, and the society that replaces the previous society is, by all measurements, kind of more right-wing, more religious, more traditional, more kind of regulated, so to speak, more ordered, I should say. Not oftentimes it's less regulated in the strictest sense. That has happened, but those have always happened through sort of more organic means of history. And there have been many, many times where people have stepped in and kind of, like Caesar, like Napoleon, have just kind of stopped the democratic process from pulling in this direction and have gone in radically different directions. I think when we say there have been no left-wing, there have been no right-wing movements, you are correct, because there are no movements to the right, this is why conservatism sucks so much. There are no successful movements in the right that have been that have worked like the left, where like you create a political party and you create a bunch of reforms and you slowly push the society in the right-wing direction. That is a futile direction. Right. There have been lots of people who've created successful parallel societies that have been more right-wing. There have been lots of monarchs that have taken society in non-left-wing directions. Usually it's like something that is in like a third direction, kind of like Napoleon. There have been lots of like resets that have happened that have gotten things back, like something has happened to get society in a right-wing direction. But movements and things like that in political parties, those don't push in right-wing directions.
Hitler, right-wing?
Hitler, yeah, I guess so. I mean, Hitler, if he had been successful, would have been a Napoleonic figure. And that, like, when you look at fascists like Mussolini, they're very much thinking of themselves like, okay, so there's the right-wingers who want to have the monarchy, and there's the left-wing communists, and I'm doing like the third direction thing, right? And when you look at like Franco's like this, in my opinion, like Hitler done better, right? I mean, like, it's just without the crazy stuff, right? And without like the insanity.
We work in branding, and that's a hell of a tagline. Hitler done better.
Hitler done better.
There's lots of things to criticize about Franco, right? But like, Franco is very much this figure who's just like,
about Franco.
I am just on Team Sanity. That's Franco's brand, right? I'm on Team Sanity. If you are sane and you want a future for your children that is not stolen, follow me and we'll figure something out. And Hitler funds him or whatever, and I'm sure Franco did tons of bad shit. I'm not excusing that, but it's Franco is very much a Napoleon type character. He's one singular vision, and he's not strictly going in the right direction. He's just doing his own thing. And, unfortunately, he's not able to arrest sort of the religious cycle in his own society, which is what Spain's suffering through right now. I have a feeling, like I said before, with the whole mysticization stuff in the sort of the death of modernity, that this religious stuff is naturally kind of coming back. I feel it. It's not like I want it to come back. I just feel that this kind of atheistic materialist way of describing social phenomenon, I want it, not it's going to happen. It just manifestly is right now how I feel is the most organically, like, imminent way to describe the universe that I am in is through spiritual, non-materialistic, religious language. And I have a feeling that the sense that I'm getting right now is the seeds of a force that is going in the opposite direction towards progress that will probably not in my lifetime result in a situation that is manifestly to the right of, modernity. And and that is my sensation. But there are no right-wing political movements that work. Like fraternities kind of work, like fraternities are kind of like right-wing political movements, and I'm kind of involved in some of these organizations. Probably if you may talk to Kevin Dolan, great guy. Every single time he writes exit, every single exit newsletter is like, just I wish I wrote it. I wish I had why didn't I say that? Right? He's doing a similar idea. Fraternities of men kind of work like political parties going in right-wing directions in some sense of the word, but they're not mass movements, right? Like they have membership, they test people, there's quality control. It's not less like, oh, hey, here we're moving in this random direction and add your body to the number of bodies that are eating at the trough. I think that fraternal societies work, and they do good, and they pave the way for things that are better, maybe Napoleons, maybe religious revivals, but they're categorically a different thing than political movements. Like Kevin Dolan is not the right-wing version of Hassan Piker, and it's very, very important to understand. He's categorically doing something that is just categorically different. He's overused categorically, but he's just doing something that is absolutely different than that, right? And the same thing with OGC and all the other groups that try to do similar things, right? And that is what good politics in the right-wing direction looks like. And I think the big insight of Yarvin is that right and left are not just like equal and opposite things pushing back at each other. They are just different ways of conceptualizing human action in history. And the sooner we stop copying the left, the better.
Yeah, well, that's I couldn't agree more with that. Yeah, I love Kevin's stuff. He had a really good one recently. I'm trying to remember, that was on like The Average Voter, and it was about this like woman who was like worrying about her kids, or like didn't have kids or something. Do you remember that one? It was a recent one he did that definitely like.
Well, there was the one about Lindsay Clancy that he published recently, where he talked about what these I Stand With Lindsay women are complaining about is not, they're complaining about having to live in modernity, doing a pre-modern, having a pre-modern life. And that's what they're really upset about. And, I don't know. I don't know the exact one, but, no. That was the how to appeal to normies. That was, that was
it was
genius
like
one.
That was the one.
So his wife went to a pedicurist, right? And so like, what is this woman? Like, she's a conservative. She's like my in-laws, right? And I had this exact experience myself. Like, you talk to these in-laws, they watch conservative news, but they are disgusted by radical politics. And if I were to tell them my Yarvinist opinions, they'd probably kick me out of the barbershop or whatever while they watch Fox News, right? And like they want to just kind of keep things comfortable and nice. But the one thing that isn't nice about their lives is the fact that their children have all been able to replicate their own life, right? Like all of their children, they're not having kids, or they're highly downwardly mobile. And it's that spiritual crisis that the right wing when I say the right wing, all I mean is every single person that is not a conservative or a leftist. That is what right winger means. Okay, the right wing needs to target that and build organizations that fill that spiritual need. Because if we go to these people, and say like, we're going to destroy your society so that like King Curtis Yarvin can, institute Techno Reich 2.0 or whatever, they're obviously going to balk at that. But if we can say we're the organization that creates a future for your children, and no one else is promising that, that's a whole different story.
I think you're right that, so this piece that he wrote was called The Secret Anguish of the Median Voter.
Yes.
And it was like about this like woman, this like hairdresser or something, like woman who's like just getting blasted with NBC in her face all day. And right, it's like he's saying she should care about her grandkids, but she's like sort of being made to not care about her grandkids. This one was really interesting because it was sort of like a profile of the median voter that he did. I think that you are correct, Dave, and this is very Yarvin, that it's like the right is the other, right? It's the other. It's like you're filling out the survey and the right is everything that's not leftism. That's basically what the right is. And that's why you see that bitmap of, left-wing thought, and it's like this really, really narrow thing, and it's like this really like tight circle. And then right-wing thought, it's like all over the place. But it's like technically all these people are on the right, but they don't really, there's no cohesion. But I do also think simultaneously, though, that it's like, yeah, that is why societies are left-wing, because societies are built by ideologues. They're built by people who are not the other, right? Because the other is just, as we said earlier in the show, the other just wants the bag of Coke and the jet ski. We just want the second house and some girl. You know what I mean? Like we don't. I'm saying the desires are a lot simpler. Whereas on the left, the desire is to be a conqueror, right? Which is, you call Mamdani all the time.
Mamdani is the person who's doing politics in this moment correctly.
Well, and I love when you say he's a conqueror, which is true. Yeah.
He's very much like Donald Trump that way.
Yeah, he really is like a counter to Trump.
If we could have told there's lots of guys like Charlie Kirk right now. If we could tell those guys, you need to be like Mamdani and not like the next Rush Limbaugh, that would be phenomenal for the right. That would save the next generation.
Yeah. But I think that the big advantage to all of this, of everything we're saying, is that the other category is demographically much larger than the left category. There's actually way more of us. There's way more of us than there are of them. It's just that they are miserable and their whole lives are dedicated to resentment and to, all these things that everybody always says. I don't need to get into the whole complaining about communist thing. I'm just saying they're ideologues. Obama is writing poems about flying through space and having sex with men when he's 22 years old. It's like normal people. We're not doing that, man. We're just going to class. We're just, oh, hey, can I get a good grade? Can I have fun? And most people are right wing. I really think that most people are right wing because they are the other. They're the other, right? And I think what Trump did so well was kind of make a coalition out of those people who were just like, I'm just a normal person. I'm not some weird I'm not some crazy identity. I remember going to AmFest and hearing Trump talk. The things people cheered the most about was the trans stuff. It was always the trans. It was always the MAGA people that got the loudest cheers every time. It wasn't, and so it's they don't normal people like being normal. They don't want this weird stuff. So I think that's our biggest advantage. It's just we get so BTFO'd all the time by highly funded, really smart organizations on the left that know, they're so much more advanced than we are. They're so much more developed. They have lawfare campaigns happening years in advance. And we're just kind of monkeying around, Yeah,
well, they're one thing and we're not. And this is the thing. Most people are right wing in the sense that when they regard the things that they really care about, when they think about their children. Here's a good example. There was a survey that was going around on X a few days ago where it was or was it Rob Henderson that was going? He talked to a bunch of parents, and he would ask conservative parents, who's having a harder time these days, men or women? And the progressive parents would be like, oh, women, of course, women are oppressed. And you go to conservative parents, and then you say, oh, who is having a harder time now, men or women, young men or young women? And they say, oh, probably a men. And then he asked them, okay, who are you more worried about, your sons or your daughters? And both groups said, our sons. And so the thing is, this is just an example of conquest's first law. It's everyone is right wing about the things they care about, because that is just what right wing is. It's about being invested
it's
in the well-being of something. It's about being, you are in it for the thing itself and not for the gibs it gives you or the dopamine hits. You're in it for the thing itself, to preserve it. to make it better, to elevate it, to iterate it. And that is what being right wing is. And the problem is that, you know, that means that the right wing is not a cohesive movement. It is just the alternative to this force that kind of makes society more progressive and more atomized and declining. And you know, for that reason, this is the source of our vitality. It's also the source of our problems. And I guess, like, all I can say is, you know, you're right. Most people are like this, but they're only going to act this way when they're pushed up against the wall. And, you know, the trans thing was one of those things where it was just so insane that people felt like if this becomes part of our social fabric, then nothing about my identity makes sense anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why there was such a big backlash to this. And, you know, this woman in the pedicurist that was in Kevin Dolan's article that just watches mainstream news, and, you know, she's vaguely Mormon and all that stuff. You know, she's only going to operate in a right-wing way when she's in a moment of crisis, or when her life is radically being recontextualized by circumstances. And that there's good things and bad things that go along with that reality.
Sick.
What did you say, Harrison?
It says sick, sickening.
All right. What else you got for us? Are we what's happening? Show host.
We're over 2 hours.
Yeah, I might have to get dinner.
Hours. Okay. Well, any other thoughts or questions for Dave before he goes here? Harrison, you've been completely silent this entire time. Very rare.
Yeah, I didn't drink to excess, so I wanted to give. We had a good host, and I didn't want to talk too much. So
yeah,
maybe overdid it. Maybe overdid the silence, but
maybe you went too far.
I'm also
it was nice. I liked your silence. I wish there was more of it.
I'm kind of dumb, so some of this stuff goes over my head. I'd like to just pull up, you know, Trist and look at fat chicks in East Palestine.
Have you had Trist? Did you just stop sharing it, but you've had it open like the whole episode?
So
yeah, pretty much. I just keep looking.
And it was so quick how he pulled it up too. It was like he started typing in TR and then it just
it was the very first thing that came up.
Yeah. Well, I'll never look at a 49ers game the same way.
Oh yeah! Wow.
You know, maybe I'll be a Raiders fan. I'm
sure.
Wait,
are you a Niners fan? Are you a
I don't know this, man. I get, my family gives me shit for this. My opinion is that I'm against every San Francisco team on general principle. When I was a kid, I used to be like a Giants fan. I used to go to the baseball games or whatever. But now I like, if the team is from San Francisco, I'm just like against them generally. Like my baseball team is the Mariners.
Nice.
Yeah, which is not a good team. Yeah,
no, but it's been brutal.
Yeah, I don't know. My family's historically, whereas my mother's family is from San Francisco, but I'm a traitor, so you know, I only come to the polls to burn it down.
Yeah.
It's funny. I'm a Niners fan and a Mariners fan too. It's a very interesting crossover.
Oh no, really? You're not a Seahawks fan?
Yeah. I know.
Of all things, I would much rather be a Seahawks fan than a Niners fan.
I fucking hate the Seahawks.
You hate this? Okay, well, I hate the NFL generally, so you know, I don't have a dog in that fight at all.
Well, because you know they have the most autistic coach of all time, and he's too good. Like he's so autistic. He's so autistic, and he's just like, we have another great autistic coach, the Rams, Sean McVay. But ours is like a great like bro autist, and his is like a weird autist. The Seahawks coach is a weird
going to the autist. It's kind of interesting. It's a definite shift too.
It's total autism takeover of the NFL. That's definitely for sure. But yeah, it's
Mike
very
McDaniels was the real tip of the iceberg. The Miami Dolphins.
Oh yeah, well there was McDaniels, right?
All these guys are Shanahan. They're all part of the Shanahan.
No, I don't think. But what's his name? Wasn't this new super autist who just won the Super
dude
Bowl?
in Seahawks?
Seattle. No, he's his own thing.
No, he's not.
Yeah.
his own
Yeah,
guy.
he's not part of the Shanahan
Anybody
tree.
catch the Maccabi Tel Aviv game the other day?
Oh, the other
Only
day
football?
they play this. Yeah, you just betrayed your Israeli accent. We all know the truth.
Oh, shit. Yeah. Well,
All right. Okay, Dave. Thank you so much for joining. I think.
All right.
I think this episode's over. Thank you. That was great.
I'll
Always
catch
love
you
Thanks,
guys
talking.
Dave.
later.
Yeah.
All
Right.
right,
Join
bye.
us next week.
all.
We're gonna have Angel on. Angel's joining us
Oh.
next week.
Cool.
Angel.
All right,
Who's
I'll catch you
Angel?
guys later.
The
All right.
fat hooker from the Tristad.
Okay.